This video is how I passed my FAA Part 107 exam. I basically walk you through the moment I walked out of the exam room with my passing score. I tell you all about how I studied, the questions that I saw, what it was like in the actual testing facility while I was taking the exam. And then afterwards, I kind of give some tips on what I used to study with, what I recommend studying with, the kind of resources that are free and paid, and what I would really recommend in order for you to pass the FAA Part 107 with flying colors. So with that being said, let me transport you to the moment that I walked out of the exam testing facility with a passing score. Peace. I just passed my FAA Part 107 drone license. I'm walking out August 2025 with my full license. I passed with a 93% today, which makes me really happy. I was studying for the last couple of weeks. I used a course with Pilot Institute for the Part 107, studied through that for the last couple of weeks, printed out all my notes. I was studying in my binder over and over, doing the practice quizzes and the practice exams. And yeah, I passed with a 93%. It was so crazy to me that there was barely any questions with sectional charts. There was barely any questions about reading METARs and weather reports. And a lot of it was just like random question-based stuff. I was stressing about weather stuff, about thunderstorms and all these low-level wind shears and all these other terminologies that I was made to study. And I literally received I think 1 or 2 questions on it. So it's quite surprising. The exam was a lot easier than I expected it to be. Now that I'm finished my FAA Part 107, I'm now licensed in Canada, in Europe, and now in America. So I have 3 drone pilot license exams completed. And that means I'm able to now do work and get paid in America as a drone pilot, which is awesome. One of the things that I was kind of nervous about going in was how is this exam different? Because all the ones that I've taken in Canada and in Europe, it's all online quizzes, online exams. And so apart from the Canadian one, which you needed to do an in-person flight examination. But anyways, this one, you had to go to a specific testing center. And so you're not allowed to bring anything in with you. And there's 700 plus locations where you can book an exam. So I booked one, I walked in, and it was just an office building with some just rooms that were specifically made for testing. So you walk in and you have your computer in front of you with your supplement chart book, essentially. Have some pieces of paper, some markers, and like a little clear piece of film so you can actually draw on top of the charts and stuff if you need to, if you have questions for that. Some earplugs, and that was basically it. The exam opens up and you have just multiple choice questions on it. Super easy to go through and answer everything. And what I was so surprised was that this chart supplement book, I didn't buy it to study for it, but when I opened it up, it literally has so many of the things that I thought I needed to memorize. Having it there was just so interesting because it just explained the angle of attack, or it just talked about the compass rose and gave you all these gave you the actual chart supplement and stuff. So there was a lot more information in there that was able to help you. It was just crazy because I thought I needed to memorize way more than I actually did. And I think a lot of the questions are common sense questions. And so they make the other 2 options very unreasonable and very improbable. They just make it seem, if you actually understand and read the questions, they make the other 2 answers, the wrong ones, they make it seem so far out from the truth that when you really actually read, it's clear pretty fast which one is the correct one. I got a lot of questions on regulation. I remember a lot of stuff on sectional charts. I barely got any questions on weather. So I know everyone's exams are different, but I watched some review videos on YouTube before I walked in, and they said they were talking about new FAA testing questions. And a lot of them were way more complicated and way more intense than what was actually on the exam. The course that I took, a Pilot Institute one for Part 107, it actually covered everything so well to the point where the practice exams were nearly identical to the actual exam questions that you had in the real exam. So I was passing the practice exams with like 96, 98, 95%, and today I walked out with a 93%. There was a few questions that kind of caught me off guard and they were a little challenging, but I could only count like 1 or 2 of those, which I'd never experienced before, and they were worded pretty interestingly. So now, gonna go get some drinks since we're in America for the day. Explore the city. We're in Seattle right now. Gonna have some fun.
We're gonna do food review time.
Food review time. I want to give a few tips that I think might help you prepare better for the FAA Part 107 exam from my personal experience. If you don't really have a budget to spend on courses and all these things, I kid you not, you can find all of the information and free study guides on YouTube already. I found this out literally like a week ago when I just wanted to do extra like review and stuff, but everything that you pay for in an online exam, you can literally find it for free on YouTube and playlists, and there's constantly videos being updated about the FAA Part 107. So that's a big tip. If you don't want to spend money, like some of these courses are hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. So that's one thing that I kind of wish I looked into more, is like, what are the free resources I can tap into right now before I start purchasing online courses? That being said, the online course that I did take, Pilot Institute, for the Part 107 exam, it did really help. It broke down all the really dry terminology into something that was a lot more digestible in like a slideshow format. So that I did really appreciate. And the practice exams were incredibly helpful. So there's some YouTube creators that give free study guides for the Part 107 exam, and they charge like $15 for practice exams, but that have like over 300 questions, which I think is the most important thing. Is if you can get yourself on practice exams doing like around 95% plus, you're gonna be golden for the exam. You don't have anything to worry about. So yeah, I think the most important thing, tap into free resources that you can find, but then also look at where you can get cheaper study exams. I'll link the guy down below who did a really good FAA Part 107 free guide on YouTube, and then in his like bio, he has a link for like, I think it's like 15 or 20 bucks, but he has 300 plus FAA practice exam questions. I'm not sponsored or affiliated with him, but I was gonna buy it if I didn't have my Pilot Institute course that I was studying from already, which I paid like 500 bucks for. That's what I would do. I would study. Honestly, you don't need more than like 4 weeks to study. I wouldn't say it's not that hard of an exam. And then also a lot of the practice exams and things, they recommend you buy the pilot manual study guide where it has all the sectional charts and all these things. Honestly, I was a little concerned going into the exam because they recommended for me to buy all these textbooks, and they're all hundreds of dollars each. Honestly, you don't need it. You don't need any of that stuff. You really just need to know how to read sectional charts, how to read the weather services, and then you need to know basic information on weather, on airport, like runways, which is the magnetic north, which is the true north, and regulations. Honestly, exactly what they're studying you on, just study that. The free content on YouTube is more than enough to get you prepared. It helps to set a date in the future and book the exam so that you can actually study and get prepared for something and look forward to actually doing that exam. So final tip, I think if you're considering doing the FAA Part 107, do it sooner rather than later, because you never know when new exam things might come up. If you might, in the future, they might implement an in-person exam thing, or they might make it more difficult, more questions. Right now, since drones are really new, they're really trying to make it as easy as possible for people to go and fly their drone while making it still safe for manned aircraft and airports and all these things. So honestly, before things get more challenging, there's more restrictions, laws, and rules, I think right now there's no better time than right now to actually go for your Part 107 FAA exam. So with that being said, hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this gave you some motivation to actually go do your exam and some little tips. But yeah, See you in a new video very, very soon.